Do you ever wonder whether you are a highly sensitive woman or whether you might be autistic or neurodivergent? If so, then watch on. Hi, welcome to Nurture Our Nature Counseling. I'm Hilke and I'm a holistic counselor and wellness coach. And many of my clients are highly sensitive women. And many of them are also autistic. And there is a huge overlap between this. And there are differences though. And that's what I want to talk about here, because there can be a lot of confusion and there is a lot of wondering. So maybe this is part of a deep dive for you. Maybe you are researching this and you really identify with everything that you read and hear about highly sensitive people. And maybe you also find that you have other additional traits. So, highly sensitive people are those of us, me included, who tend to think deeply and tend to feel deeply. We are often very caring. You will find us in the caring professions. And it is a personality trait. So it is something that is part of you, and you can do tests and questionnaires for it, but you probably know whether you are highly sensitive or not. So this means that your nervous system is geared towards processing all the information that is out there and that's coming into the human body. The highly sensitive person's body will process this in a way that is more acute. So if there is a noise, for us, we will be more sensitive to the noise, which means we're just processing more of it. Glaring light is the light is the same, the person is different. So whereas every person of course is different in every way, highly sensitive people process many different stimuli differently. And you might be highly sensitive to everything. You might be highly sensitive to touch, to noise, to busyness around you. You might be highly sensitive to pain. Or you might find that you are highly sensitive to certain other stimuli. And this can be really, really exhausting. And this is why many highly sensitive women tend towards burnout, tend towards overload, because everything that's coming in gets processed more. And this is why I often refer to us as deep thinking, deep feeling women, because our brains work all the time. We process things deeply, and we feel things deeply, which often makes us highly empathetic. So it is very likely that you care deeply for those around you, that in your friendship group you are known as someone who is just wonderful to be around, because you will put the other person first very often. And this is already touching onto something, and I'll link to a video here about absorbing other people's emotions. But it is something that is exhausting if it goes in the wrong direction. So whereas I often feel that being highly sensitive can be somewhat of a superpower, because you're tuned into other people, into a situation. You will think through things layer by layer and come to a really considered opinion. You get on well with people. The dark side, sort of being highly sensitive, is that you might end up being a people pleaser, that you do not recognize your own boundaries and needs. So, whereas you do need more downtime from all the processing, from all the sensory stimuli just coming into you, like at work or elsewhere, in public places, shopping centers, you just need to then tone it down and have some time out for yourself. But many deep feeling, deep thinking women will not do that because they will then carry on. They don't want to be selfish, and they will keep caring for others. So all of this is the way highly sensitive people think and feel. Now, the um, autistic people might very well be highly sensitive as well. There is many autistic people who are highly sensitive, and the sensitivity, though, that is separate in, say, an autism diagnosis. So I don't often like the medical model of autism, which speaks of deficits. But what they're looking at is the differences in processing. So, an autistic person might well have a sensitivity towards noise or a sensitivity towards light, and that is a part of the nervous system, but not in the same way as, say, like the deep thinking, deep feeling sensitivity. And I am absolutely not saying that autistic people are not deep thinking and deep feeling. There is a huge overlap. So many autistic people are also highly sensitive or whatever. However, it is not necessarily the same thing. And then there are social differences. So, as a highly sensitive person, highly sensitive woman who is not autistic, you might find that you really enjoy socializing a lot, and that socializing gives you energy. Whereas autistic people might find that they prefer to socialize maybe in smaller groups, and the socializing itself then means that it's cost them a lot of energy. Um, Language differences, autistic people sometimes often communicate differently. So with highly sensitive women, they will just communicate. It's not a neurodivergence, it's a personality trait, so it's got nothing to do with the way they communicate. Whereas autistic people have communication differences and are more comfortable communicating in ways that are different, divergent from the neurotypical rest of society. So that's neither better nor worse, it is just a difference. And so, if as a highly sensitive woman you're also autistic, you might find that you prefer to communicate differently as well. You might prefer not to make a lot of eye contact. You might prefer not to make a lot of small talk. Yeah, and so there are differences, there are overlaps. It is murky waters, my friends. But my personal thoughts are it's completely fascinating to look at yourself, to, deep thinking, deep feeling. You're going to be interested, right? Oh yeah, that's another thing with autism, special interests, as in like deep diving into a subject that you just love for ages, and that can become sort of all consuming and something you love to share with others. And yeah, So personally, I think psychiatry has come a very long way. I think labels can be very useful. Um, if you identify as part of a group, so identifying as neurodivergent, I identify as neurodivergent, it is wonderful to find my tribe, to lay down the burden of thinking you have to be like the everyone, like the whole mass of neurotypical society. So that can all be wonderful and helpful. However, I think in terms of our beautiful Western medicine, which I love, and modern day psychiatry, we have not come so far yet as to always distinguish between different patterns and labels. So you can go to different specialists, and if this specialist has an interest in bipolar, many women who might later get diagnosed as autistic get diagnosed as bipolar even now. Um, some people might get diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, whereas if they saw a different specialist, they might get an autism diagnosis. Many people, especially women, this is much more true for women, who might get an ADHD diagnosis, might also be autistic, but this isn't always recognized yet in professional circles. So, for me personally, I think this is wildly interesting and I love thinking about it. I love discussing it. But I take all of it with a pinch of salt. If it is useful to know whether you are highly sensitive, highly empathic, autistic, an ADHD, whatever, then do go down that road and you might find it really helpful and you might find your tribe and your community. But if it's not important, if you don't get like maybe special access to therapy through a diagnosis or resources, say if you could be on the NDIS and get help and support with your with oh gosh, with a disability, then yes, it might make sense to go down that route. But otherwise, I firmly believe each of our brains is so unique, and so many conditions and personality traits and things that make us who we are, and that might be similar in different groups. They're also genetic. So, for example, there are over 200 different genes involved in what we call autism. And they've now found that there's like 3 or 4 types of different autisms, which all have different genetic profiles. So, are they the same thing? Are they not the same thing? And does all that depend on old white men in lab coats? I don't know. So I've gone all out on a tangent. But if you are wondering if you are highly sensitive, if you are neurodivergent, what else might be in the mix? I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk to you about it. I'd love to support you on your journey if you like. And yeah, it's interesting. And the more support you get for yourself, the better you live with yourself. Whether you are neurodivergent, neurotypical, highly sensitive, not sensitive, I don't know, having grown toenails, whatever. Um, if we know ourselves, know how to support ourselves, support our strengths, then we can be the beautiful star-shaped individual that we are. Okay. Sorry for my ramblings. I hope you got something out of it. If you'd like to hear more from me, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have the most wonderful day.